Welcome back to the Relationships Made Simple for Men podcast with me, Bryce Bauer. I'm going to try something new today. I've never used this whiteboard on Zoom. So if you're just listening to the podcast, you won't be able to see this model that I made, but I think it will still make sense as you listen to me talk. What I want to cover today is the root cause of all anxiety and struggle. Even though this may be really complex in some ways, at its core, it's actually really simple. And I will explain how this applies to your everyday life. So, if you're a human, you've probably noticed that sometimes you don't want things to be the way they are. You want more of some things and less of others, more peace, more joy, more connection, more fun, more money, more vacations. The list goes on and on. And what you want less of is stress, anxiety, depression, fighting, people talking too much, people talking not enough, less corruption, less war, and the list goes on there too. Most people want very similar things. We just want to be able to live our lives in peace, to be around the people that care about us, to express ourselves in the world, and to feel supported in the process. Not everyone wants $1 billion. We want to feel alive. And you've probably experienced this at some point in your life, and you realized, I want more of that. But when that's not happening, it can feel painful. It can feel frustrating. And we develop different strategies to deal with that. This is the core of the anxiety and struggle of the human experience. We have reality as it is and reality as we want it to be. That's where the tension lives. And sometimes that's fine. We're working towards a better future. We can see progress. We're in the journey and it feels good. But most people cannot escape the little and big moments when anxiety creeps up and that tension becomes overwhelming. It's just too much to handle. So this is where we need different frameworks and different skills to work with that tension. And the first thing we need to do is understand what exactly is happening. When we do not accept reality as it is, and we're living in a fantasy about what reality could be or what it should be, that becomes a negative experience. Our focus is not on what's actually happening. We're living in our minds, an imaginary land where things are different. And so we make up stories about why reality should not be the way it is, why it's bad or less than ideal, or complete bullshit. This could be dynamics you have with your partner. And we're wishing that things were different, that we were different or that they were different. And because you can't actually disagree with reality, it just is what it is. This starts to drain your focus and your attention and your energy. God, I wish they weren't so high maintenance. I wish they were less critical. I wish I had thicker skin. I wish I was with somebody else. It wasn't like this. I wish I could not be so bothered by them. That's the negative experience that is very hard to make space for. And we won't actually be able to make space for it unless we understand how it works. You hear this a lot. People say you just have to breathe and make space for things. But what does that actually mean? If you don't have a framework, this isn't going to make much sense. So here's where it starts to get interesting. When we start to turn our attention to reality as it is, to look for the benefits, to find a love for reality as it is, not to change anything, that becomes a positive experience. This is helping me learn. This is helping me grow. Life is conspiring to help me wake up. It's okay that I'm feeling this way. It's okay that my partner or somebody else is the way they are, seeking to get grounded in reality, starting to not only resist reality, but to lean into it. That becomes a positive experience. And when people are first learning about personal development relationships, they'll get to this place. They learn better tools to cope, better ways to frame things. And some people are naturally more good at this than others. I tend to find that roughly half the people in the world seem to lean optimistic, glass half full, and the other half are more pessimistic, the glass is half empty. And there are pros and cons to each. For instance, me as a more glass half empty type person, I can really thrive when problems are arising. I can hang out in those darker spaces. And someone who is more optimistic, glass half full, can make a lot of space for joy and they can dream. They have a harder time accepting more negative parts of the world versus someone like me can have a harder time seeing the bright sides of the world. So I think this always balances out in some way. But here's where most people get stuck. You have reality as it is, how we perceive it. We have what we want reality to be, which is also important. We want to be able to see where we want to go and to feel into that. We have the anxiety and struggle, the tension in between. We have times where we really disagree with reality and times where we do accept it. And all of this becomes a part of the ultimate reality. This is where reality, how we want reality to be, and all the struggle in between becomes okay. We have to step back even further. And this is where people get stuck with meditation sometimes. You meditate, you have good experiences, and then sometimes you're caught in thought or you're having a bad day or you don't want to do it, and you have a hard time accepting that that is the way it is. I just sat down for 20 minutes and nothing happened. I maybe even feel worse, and I'm judging myself. I'm still resisting reality as it is. Ultimate reality makes space for the resistance. That means that every thought that goes through your head, every feeling that you have, and all your struggle to do things that you feel like you should be able to do because you learned it. You learned how to do it, but right now you can't. That is the thing, the big picture that we make space for. And I'm not saying that I do this every moment of every day. In fact, it's still a relatively rare experience for me because it's hard to do. Our minds are always trying to look for problems and fix them, to attach to things that feel safe and good, and to resist things that feel unsafe and painful. That is how we're wired. This is a more spiritual concept. It's even bigger than a mental concept because there's only so much that we can understand mentally. This really stretches the boundaries of our understanding. And ultimate reality includes our limits. And it's quite a paradox. It's almost like the more that we accept our limits, the more limitless we become. We see a bigger and bigger view. And so the next time that you find yourself in a place where you're having trouble accepting reality as it is, you're in a disagreement with your partner, you're feeling anxious about work or another relationship, you're confused, overwhelmed, no matter what it is, one question that can cut through all that is, what if everything is happening exactly as it should? Because the truth is that it is. Each moment can only be as it is. It's not that we can't make changes down the road, but each moment is a new opportunity to love reality exactly as it is. Not 90% or 99%, 100%. And this isn't some concept that I just came up with. I've heard people talk about this in different ways, and I encourage you to test this for yourself. Does it really make sense to disagree with reality in each unfolding moment? And your desires of what you want to change are included in that. You don't have to let those go. Some people worry that if they accept reality as it is, they won't strive for more of what they want. But I don't find that that's the case. In fact, the more that we can accept our current reality and what we want, to have compassion for that, to make space for that, the more free we feel to create that out in the world, because we're not burdened by all this unnecessary stress and bargaining with reality. That never works. And Jenny and I have really tried to adopt and integrate this concept into our relationship. Most of what everyone struggles with, individually and in relationship, is this. People stay in relationships that really don't feel good for them because they can't accept reality as it is. They're still holding on to a fantasy of what could be. And people sometimes disappear from relationships that could serve them because they're afraid to step into reality as it is. And again, holding on to a fantasy of how much better it could be. When you two are in a disagreement in the kitchen over anything, and it's escalating and escalating, and you don't feel like you two are understanding each other, I can teach you all the skills in the world. But if you cannot make space for that reality and you're still trying to make it different and change your partner, the tools will still fall flat. This is an overarching philosophy and mindset to be more honest with yourself. And this will illuminate more options, more choices. You won't be stuck with the blinders on, trying to change yourself or somebody else. You can still leave a relationship. You can still use the skills and work on it. Not more, not less, centered, grounded in what is. And in my experience, you don't even have to work hard to love what is. When we come into the present moment, when we're connected to it, that in itself becomes a positive experience. Even if there are negative feelings like sadness or shame or anger or depression. So I encourage you to try this on your own. If this doesn't make sense, feel free to ask questions in the comments or send me an email. Jenny and I are opening up a new program at like 90% off right now. So I will include the landing page for that in the description. And remember to like, comment, subscribe, share if you like what I have to say. I'll see you next week.